Welcome to the first in Megatrax's series of monthly informational webinars. Our focus today is imaging for a PPM World. This is a panel that we staged first at the NAB Radio Show earlier this year, and we thought it would be a great way to kick off this new series. My name is Leona Laurie, and I am the public relations personality for Megatrax. And I am thrilled to get to introduce our three panelists today. We have Terry Phillips from Detroit. And as you can see here, Terry's a Detroit-based radio imaging producer and voiceover talent. And we're going to hear his voice during some of our audio cues today. We also have DJ Necio from Radio 1 in Dallas. And he does a lot for a lot of different stations, and we're going to get to hear his voice during our cues today as well. And Craig Taylor from Los Angeles here with Clear Channel, who you might know from KFI and KTLK. And I think we can go ahead and get started. And gentlemen, I'm not sure how you did this during the original, but I've got you arranged in order of our introduction here. So I'm going to start with Terry. And I've got a variety of audio cues for each of you. So I'm going to be quiet now. And if you want to jump in, Terry, and take over for a little while, just let me know when you're ready for me to play anything.
Okay. Well, the way we originally did this was to jump into questions and all. I guess the best thing to do is to cover a little bit of philosophy. I'm with CBS Radio in Detroit, handling WYCD and WOMC as my primary stations, as well as some corporate stuff. And here, while CHR focuses on hipness, while news, you'll hear from the two other brilliant gentlemen here. He has quite an amazing take in the way he produces stuff. Here in Detroit, we're more the class clown. We're selling, I jokingly refer to it as pickles to penguins. Country music in Detroit is not a normal sell. I've been here for 13 years, and through an amazing program director and a world-class air staff, we've had tremendous ratings. And I can't take all the credit for that, nor will I even pretend to. So a lot of the stuff you'll hear from YCD and OMC, a classic hit station, while we stay current, while we stay on top of things, our key focus is to entertain more than anything else. So I don't know which one you have queued up, but go ahead and play.
This is Hockey Town. And this is Ken. Ken's job is to make the call. He does it for every goal and every game.
With 8 seconds to go.
And making the call over and over for a team like ours with 95 straight sellouts for 22 straight playoff seasons. Ken needs a break.
What a series it was.
This weekend, you make the call.
Score!
You could win the tickets.
All weekend long, win an Octopi Hockey Town prize pack.
And you could win our Red Wings playoff tickets. It's another winning weekend thanks to Meyer. On 99.5 WYCD.
That's an example on YCD Red Wings tickets. When I started here, there was a big debate whether even to use the word Detroit because, as you know, if you're somewhere else, Detroit isn't always thought of in the best way. We always wanted to take pride in the city, so we've done multiple campaigns on both stations over 13 years on that, and I'll just play a quick sample.
Getting better just like us. This is Detroit. These are Detroit's greatest hits. 104.3 WOMC. We perfected the wheel and started more than one musical revolution. This is Detroit. We are 104.3 WOMC.
Who's up next?
Next, we've got DJ Necio.
Well, here in Dallas, we've been under the shadow of a heritage station here, and so it's been a nonstop battle since we've been here. You know, the station that I work for in Radio 1 has been here for like 12 years, and we're still considered, you know, not the heritage station because, you know, and so everything that we do imaging-wise has to be thought and rethought that we can't just throw something on the air and hope it sticks. You know, everything has to be a slick brand. It has to have a reason, or it has to have, you know, we have to out entertain the other guys for sure, because it's such an intense competition. You know, we play the same songs exactly. So the only thing that's going to separate us is the imaging. So we have to stand out. So that's a little background on my station. So what you see on the screen, I guess, to compete with internet radio, to compete with other stations, but mostly with the way, you know, radio is going now. Everybody's on the internet. Everybody's on, you know, is streaming, Pandora, whatever it is. The one thing that they can't do is localize. And we always hear that, like, yeah, we know this is the advantage of being local radio, but really, you know, make an effort to write sweepers where it does, you know, shout out the cities or the landmarks or what people in your city are going through. You know, this is what's worked for us well. You know, when something big happens in Dallas, we're all over it. I mean, we'll call it a trending topic, and a drop is, we'll plug in a drop for that day just to run that day if it's that big, you know. So anyways, we make a big point to localize. You know, we hear this all the time, but I think there's an audio example of a listener introing a Beyonce song.
Hey y'all, this is Kiona from D-Town, and I'm a beataholic.
Hey, Kiona.
Man, I'm fiending for that Beyonce song, part 2. Come on, 97.9, I gotta have it.
Who wants that perfect love story anyway?
So that's actually a dry drop that we get a lot of times. You know, every time we hit the streets, we bring a flash mic out. They're saying their name. They're saying what part of town they live in. That's what localizes it. They're saying, you know, let me hear this whatever hot song it is, and it's dry. It's no more than 10 seconds, and we play it over the top of the intro if the song has an intro. So we're knocking out three birds in one stone. It sounds like the listeners are running the station themselves. You know, there's a lot of those drops have made a good impact on the way we brand. You know, letting the listeners say it, not just saying new music and playing, you know, then playing it. We're saying this is what the listeners want to hear, while localizing it at the same time. So that's been really strong. You know, everyone's on Facebook, everyone's vining, everyone's tweeting, and instead of trying to fight against it, you know, every radio station is different, every PD thinks different. What's worked for us is to embrace it, not to fight against it, to be a part of it, but to do it strategically. So if we do send somebody to Facebook, hey, you know, chime in on Facebook, then whoever from our station is also putting something on saying, you know, hey, listen tonight at 7 because you can still win Kanye West tickets. So we're sending people to Facebook, but then Facebook right then sends right back to on air, to where we could, if that person has a meter, we're getting, you know, more ratings, more hits. So we embrace whatever's topical. We embrace whatever digital social media technology there is to our advantage as a cycle, you know. The third thing I was saying is to be organized as possible, because not only the way we specifically label the listeners, you know, because let's say I'll go out and with the flash mic get 20 listeners and they're all saying stuff about the station, about Ricky Smiley or morning show, about new music. You know, I'll cut up each one and saying new music hot, or that was crazy, or he's so funny, he's so crazy. I mean, spend time labeling every single thing, and that might take a little more time at the time, but when it's crunch time and you're looking for something, some ad libs or something, all you got to do is type in, you know, a search word. Hopefully your computers, you know, can do that, and you've got the listeners or whatever ad libs you need as soon as you need them, instead of wondering, okay, I wonder what he said, or trying to think back. Everything has already been specifically labeled, you know, so that's helped us a lot as well, and of course just being organized, period, with a calendar of events that's happening, you know, with, you already know that, you know, this is the first day of winter, you know that so and so is whatever concert is happening on this day, you know that tomorrow's Flag Day, tomorrow's National Peanut Butter Day, you know, whatever it is. To be as organized as possible, so when it does come time, you're not scrambling around, and it doesn't sound like you're caught with your pants down, or, you know, you just missed the boat. You've already, you know, like right now I'm working on New Year's Eve imaging. You know, you already know it's coming, so I'm kind of like scraping up stuff that's going on for the rest of the year. You know, the best of the last year or so.
Thank you. Okay, next up is Craig Taylor from Los Angeles.
Cool. I hope you can hear me. What do we have? Don't produce for the sake of producing. Well, with the PPM thing, I guess we all know the point is to get that 15-minute credit, even though you don't need 15 minutes of listening to get the 15-minute credit. So one thing that we do is every single promo, every single imaging piece has to have a purpose. So none of it's fill. I'm not a fan of the 30-second snippets of hosts talking because I think people already know what your hosts sound like, and most likely if they're listening, they've already heard the host say that, which is why we do like the call to action promos, meaning listen to this show for this reason at this time. You know, like I'm gonna Bill Handel's gonna have on, you know, a celebrity in the morning at a specific time. You know, that would be a call to action. Another type of promo I'm a big fan of is leaving one detail out, so you don't give them all the information. Like something along the lines of, you won't believe what celebrity was busted for smuggling lizards into this country. Or you won't believe what happened when Adam Lambert tried to smuggle something into the United States. So leaving one thing out makes people, you know, it's just a curiosity thing. Keeping the audience's attention, which is all part of, you know, don't produce for the sake of producing. With every minute counting in PPM, one thing that we do is traffic in 60 seconds. Meaning, you may be going into a commercial break. You're gonna put a 60 in there, but you want to keep them through traffic, because if you keep the listener for that one more minute, there's a chance that that's enough minutes. I think it's 6. I'm not 100% sure on that. In order to get the PPM credit per 15 minutes, that you have to have them listening. But so in order to get them just to listen for like one more minute, or to get them to listen through that first spot, we will, you know, we will always be teasing out what, you know, the next 60 seconds. So, you know, they'll do a little news tease. I've got traffic in 60, and most times I'll always hang on for traffic. I live in LA. I actually live in a considerable distance from the station, from work. So I will always stay on a station if they promise me traffic coming up. And I find that if I have to use pieces that are short, I don't just make them dry. I'll make them really, really fast sounding by using a bunch of effects underneath, or quick music or whatnot. And even if the promo or the sweeper or whatever it is actually longer than 15 or 20, which is what I always shoot for, if I can make it sound like it's short, then that's fine with me. As long as it sounds short and it sounds fast, then I'm good with it, because it'll keep the audience. I just think that the long stuff, it's like a commercial. Whenever I'm not hearing a host talk, when it comes to talk radio or a song, I hear a commercial. So I really try to keep everything quick or entertaining or fast. And then the culturally current stuff. I think there's a couple audio examples there. I can play one from this end if you want here. Let me play this one here, and then tell me you guys should be able to hear this here. And then I know you've got a couple you've got there you can play, but here's one here.
Get your singing voices all warmed up for Christmas music, because we sure as aren't going to sing all that holly jolly for you.
KFI, more stimulating talk radio.
That's good.
Yeah, thanks. I think you've got two there as well that we played in Orlando, right?
I do.
Call KFI now! KFI, more stimulating talk radio.
Do you want to hear both of them right now, Craig?
Yeah, and then the second one I think is like a Duck Dynasty one.
If making a duck call can get ducks to show up, how about a Conway call?
Ding dong!
Wow, it worked. Tim Conway Jr., tonight at 7.
KFI, more stimulating talk radio.
Conway's catchphrase is ding dong. I probably should have said that ahead of time. I forgot exactly which one that was. So like, you know, the duck call, his whole thing is ding dong, ding dong. He puts it all over his show. There's drops all over it with the whole ding dong thing. So I try to do some culturally current stuff so people like, and honestly, I try to image younger than my P1s are, because I don't view myself as 39. I view myself as maybe like, early 30s. I think most people view themselves younger than they really are. So even though that Skrillex piece in there is not something our P1s would necessarily listen to, it's something that they'll recognize, or at least their kids will recognize in the car. And I just think it makes your station sound cooler if you image a little bit younger. And I think the last thing I had was social media. I push everything through the website. I don't like to drop direct Instagram accounts or Twitters or Facebooks, because then you miss the opportunity for revenue. Yeah, basically I'm just saying, just throw your web people a bone and push all your social media through your website, and then you have a revenue opportunity that you don't get with Facebook or Instagram. And just put all the information on there, and then you got to click, right off the bat, sending people through there. Let's see. Those are kind of the notes I had. If anybody has questions, that's cool too.
Well, I think I'll ask a couple questions that I'd love to have you guys answer, and then if we've got time, which I think we will, then we can open it to questions from our listeners today.
Yeah. A quick thing, though, I wanted to add to what Craig was saying as far as feeling younger. Craig, you're exactly right. There's a research piece that I love to quote when talking to folks. Sony, a long time ago, when they were releasing the PlayStation 2, did one of the most exhaustive pieces of research and marketing on the topic. And basically it was, what age do you feel like? And if you could be any age, what would you want to be? The overwhelming answer was 19. And this was from people as high as 64 years old. It was done from 25 to 64-year-old people. 19 was the answer. So no, your thought, your instinct is exactly dead on. People don't want to feel old. It's one of the reasons why oldies stations won't use the word oldies anymore. Okay, that's all I had to thought.
No, yeah, I didn't know that about the PlayStation thing. That's cool. I'm glad to hear it's
it's always good to hear research that you're right.
Yeah, no kidding, huh?
I think before I jump in with a question, if the three of you have anything that you want to add to what each of you said, that would be very interesting. That was a great point. So I give you permission. You can all come off mute now if you want to. Because I think some of the things that I heard and what you were saying that you were all agreeing on, or at least, Necio and Craig, your approach to social media, it sounded like there was some good synergy there. And I thought it was very interesting that, Terry, you were talking about selling pickles to penguins and trying to market a type of music that might not play that well in your region. And Craig, you were talking about skewing younger, playing things that people music they wouldn't necessarily recognize, which is, again, sort of marketing outside of what the norm would be for your station necessarily. So I'd love to hear if you guys have anything you want to add to what each other said.
This is Craig here. What Necio said about getting on the streets and having people talk about where they're from in the area and whatnot. We do something very, very similar. I don't know. I can't remember exactly what the line is, but it's something along the lines of wherever you go, there we are. And then I'll have like from Dana Point to I don't know, Downey. I'll pick two cities in our region that are far apart. I just like to use the same letters at the beginning, but you could pick anything. And then when people hear their hometown, even though it's all LA really, I don't know. I think it's cool when I hear like a weather forecast and it's my hometown, because I don't hear a whole lot. That's new. That's neat to me. That's cool to me. So I'm with Necio on that, where having people talk about where they're from, or just mentioning areas. And I think that weather people could do a better job of spreading out, where they're pulling their numbers from, because it's all pretty close to being the same in the markets. I mean, I've been to Dallas.
And especially in Dallas, everybody's, not everyone, but a lot of people are really country, No matter what ethnicity you are, it's down south country. So if we have a voice guy who's very professional, has a deep voice, that's great. But then you kind of have a little disconnect from the people. So I like to accent the voice guy with a female voice and a lot of street listeners. And between all three of those, I think we hit home.
Yeah, I think one of the things that all of us do different and the same at the same time is a real heavy emphasis on being where you are, being local. I didn't have the PowerPoint up when we first started talking, so I didn't go over the takeaway specifically, but on mine. But that's one of the things that we all point out. It's like know your town, know your listeners, eat, relax, work, worship, love, hate. Craig in LA has so much competition for the mind space that he's in, has carved out his way. Necio, you don't understand how competitive Dallas can be until you're in Dallas. That's actually my hometown. I've been here for 13 years, but ironically, I'm from the other big D town.
And I've worked in Dallas, believe it or not.
Yeah. And here, when I was hired, I was literally told by the GM and other people I mentioned that the country would never be a top 3 in Detroit. We've luckily proved them wrong a lot and had a really great string here recently. And I think the key to success on all 3 of these completely different producers in completely different towns with completely different formats is we found a way to connect to our people, our markets, our life group, in ways that bring more passion and connection than just a simple town shout out. And not that town shout outs are bad. When done right, they're great. And Craig, I've heard some of Craig's, what he's talking about from this town to this town. There's a lot of times that's done wrong. Craig does it the right way, where you're connecting with those towns and those people, not just name checking. And I think that's one of the real secrets that's so obvious.
One of the points that I thought was very interesting that Necio made is that he's conscious of the calendar and thinking not just about the big holidays like New Year's coming up, but also other things that localize and differentiate. And since you are from 3 very different formats and from 3 very different regions of the country, I'd be interested to hear from Terry and Craig as well, what calendar items you are conscious of and planning ahead for.
Craig here, and honestly, I do the big ones. I kind of play to the big crowd when I don't do the small holidays. And I really try to minimize sucking up for the sake of a holiday. Like I always take a step back from Veterans Day or from a holiday that is a cool day, but it's from or Memorial Day, but it's from something not. I don't want to sound like I'm trying to capitalize on it when I'm doing it. Like I don't like to do the sappy stuff. I'd rather make fun of Christmas. And I guess really KFI's attitude is just more making fun of everything, and not taking anything very seriously. But I hit the big holidays. I hit the 4th, but I try not to overdo it, and I try to keep it short. Because I could do we used to do big, long, 30-second top of the hour produced pieces and they would run, at the top of every hour, and they would all, it'd be like 8-10 rotating, and we'd change them out every week. But it ended up where I'd hear it and I'd tune out myself because I knew I had time till news came on, and it was going to be the same thing I'd heard earlier in the week. So I just, when I do the holiday stuff, I just try to keep it really short. Although the funny days, like the peanut butter day, sounds fun. Maybe I'll do some stuff like that. Necio mentioned it. That does sound fun. I should probably pull out one of those goofy calendars. That's all I got on that.
Yeah, and really by calendars, I mean I'm not getting a holiday calendar, but I mean I use my Microsoft Outlook. Everybody's got a different email system or whatever, holiday. But I'll use the calendars to say, like, okay, I know Justin Timberlake's coming tomorrow, in town, so I'll mark that on the calendar, and I'll have reminders. So we have pre-party mixes like Justin Timberlake's in town, win last-minute tickets, whatever. That's the kind of stuff that I'm always putting in the calendar. Holidays, yes, but there's a lot of other events that are local, that are big or small, that you could stay ahead of the game.
Yeah, here, Y-City's mostly the class clown station, so anything we can make fun of and stick tongue firmly in cheek, anything going on locally. Not big on going through all the holidays like Craig, as well. We differ, being a country station, on the patriotic flag-waving holidays during the big part of the Iraq, or the stuff in the Middle East. Every Memorial Day, we literally stopped down and, in between hooks of extraordinarily patriotic songs, read the names of the fallen soldiers in the state of Michigan for that year, and it ended up generating a lot of traffic and some news coverage the first couple of times we did it, and then kind of faded into the ether. But I think for our life group and for our audience, it was definitely the right thing to do. Where OMC Classic Hits did far less. I think it differs from station to station, the holidays that are important, and the programming and producers' ability to write something that's worthy. I mean, I go back to what I heard from Buzz Bennett at the beginning of my career when I was young and stupid. Now I'm just stupid. If you're more entertaining than the song, go for it. If not, shut up and play the hits. So, if you can add something and evoke emotion, and the holiday's a good excuse to do it, great. But I'm with Craig and Necio. I'm not going to talk about Valentine's Day just because it's Valentine's Day. There's got to be something entertaining with it.
Gentlemen, if you had to pick one thing and one thing only, what is the best thing you do to drive listeners to a designated listening period to raise your PPM numbers?
This is Necio. We kind of hit it from all angles: social media, top of the hour IDs, promos, and we hit it hard. Because, like, we'll have a concert announcement, the big concert announcement of our big annual car show or something, and we'll say Friday at 5. We're gonna tell you who's gonna perform, and so we'll hit it hard with almost every drop. I mean, if you're turning on the station the week before, you can't go 15 minutes without hearing it. I mean, most people don't listen like we listen. We're listening for hours at a time. We have our ear to the radio, but of course most people, listen passively. So we hit it super hard to where the people in the building are like, okay, I get it. Friday at 5, I get it. But we've seen that this does move the meter. If the payoff is worth it. If it's for something stupid, we're wasting their time and it's noise. But if it's something big with a big payoff, we'll hit it. I mean, every other legal ID, we'll hit it with rejoins, and of course saying it in different ways, not saying the same exact verbiage, because that would be redundant and that would be annoying, But having listeners say it, having artists say it, having the voice guys say it, have it in different ways. That's how we hit it.
This is Craig here. I think I'm along the same lines as Necio on this. It's the call to action stuff. It's listen to this show for this reason at this time. And if you give them, instead of just throwing up 30 seconds of a host being funny or saying something smart, I don't think that drives anybody to do anything but tune out. But, you know, people may disagree with me on that. But I'm with Necio on it. It's a call to action. It's, you know, make sure that every promo, you know, has a purpose. But the call to action definitely, I think, brings in the most. At least we'll see an increase if a host is willing to, you know, promote the hell out of their show, you know, and take the time to do the call to action promos and find out what's coming up next. They do see an increase, you know, for sure.
Now, I guess I would say humor more than anything else. I mean, we do a lot of appointment setting, but usually, you know, being a music station where one of my two stations, none of the artists release any new music of consequence, classic hits, to the country station where there isn't a whole lot of big announcements except so-and-so is coming to town, and there's not really news. So we do a lot of obtainable prizes and humor. So for me, since there isn't much to set an appointment to other than our morning show, hopefully they're funny again tomorrow, you like them, listen, raw, just being a part of someone's life and entertaining them is I think, us.
Great. We have a question from our Senior Vice President of Sales here at Megatrax, Phil Macco. I'm going to take Phil off of mute if I can find him. Looks like he must be Megatrax Sales Organizer.
Phil.
Is that you, Phil? Do you have yourself on mute, Phil?
Can you hear me, guys?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Phil.
Awesome. So, hey, thanks for putting me in. Hey, Terry. First of all, you guys, thank you again for for taking the time and putting on a really informative panel. You guys were amazing at NAB Radio and equally as well. And I picked up some new things in this session. And as Leona mentioned, I'm the SVP of Sales for Megatrax. So those clients who I don't know who are on the call, welcome aboard. I'm glad you joined us. Since we work with radio, but I'm not in radio, I know the change to PPM from diary was dramatic, and I know, you know, there was a lot of emergency meetings in the beginning and much reformatting. But in each of your opinions, do you think the PPM move turned out to be a beneficial one for your stations and your markets?
Anyone?
Huge.
If so, why?
In Detroit for YCD, a huge, gigantic, screaming, flaming yes. Because, you know, we jokingly refer to Detroit as the Susan Lucci of radio markets. It's never given any credit. And when you know, people like to talk negative about Detroit and focus on the negative, the fact that the town and its rebirth and how well it's doing. People don't want to hear that story, but nevertheless, it's there. We've always thought that not only is the town better than, you know, and more loved and proud of itself than people think, but that we have an audience and there are people out there that love country music, and we had a slow climb going. Rocky, but predominantly up, and when PPM hit, the growth was exponential, and we were able to weed out some of the problems we have and clarify what they were and refine our product. So I got here, yes, but I'm lucky. I'm in a situation where I don't have requirements as to how long or how short anything needs to be, or anything like that. I kind of get to just play radio, and as long as we're successful, I can't feel anyone breathing on my shoulder.
Awesome, thank you, Terry.
Yeah, and Necio in Dallas, the hip hop audience is not as big as, you know, say country or CHR here in Dallas. So it was kind of a hit with us when we went to PPM, and also that like I was saying, we're in such a tight battle with the heritage station that that 1 week we'll be up, the next week they'll be up, 1 week we'll be up, they'll be up. So it could drive us crazy. Like, okay, but what I think is good too is that we could visually see, okay, that between 10 and 12 needs help. It's the ratings are down in those two hours. So I'll put a concentrated effort on the morning show, saying, hey, listen for our midday guy. Listen at 10 o'clock. We got this coming up. We got this coming up. So I know exactly where to push. So I think that's a big benefit with PPM with us, is that we can see exactly what hour needs the help or needs the big push, and I could specifically make imaging for that time period. Listen for this, and we can refresh it. That's how it helps us.
Thank you, Necio.
Yeah, it's Craig here. It's tough because what we found is, because there's fewer meters out there than there were diaries, that everything seems to be bounced. Same thing Necio's seeing is it's kind of bouncing all over the place. It's really cool to be able to look, a lot closer, look at quarter hours and stuff, and see what's up, just from show to show. But it's tough because if you look, like we had a show that when we went to PPM suddenly got all of these female ratings, and we had no idea. And then a few months down the road, suddenly all those female ratings are gone. Well, that was obviously because one or two people had switched meters or stopped listening, or it was a very, very small group of people that made a huge difference in the ratings. So it's a struggle. It's a struggle for me to really be happy about PPM because of the smaller sampling, smaller sample. But but it is cool. I think once they get enough meters out there, it'll be a lot. It'll be a huge benefit. But it's somewhat frustrating at the moment, honestly.
That makes sense, Craig. Thank you very much, and thanks, guys, for answering that. I appreciate you unmuting me and letting me jump in, Leona.
Oh, my pleasure, Phil. Let me take a look here. We've got another couple questions that have come in off of this. So I'm going to put you back on mute, Phil. And gentlemen, our next question comes from Ileana Landon at Megatrax. How often do each of you look at PPM numbers to determine how to do your job, or do you leave that to your programming directors?
This is Craig in LA. Our PD always gives us the numbers in a very nice way, in an email, and lets us look at what's up. And when I'm guessing it's probably monthly, maybe a little bit more often than that. But if there's something specific, we'll go in and sit down in the office and go through things, and if there's any major changes, we'll take a look at it. But mostly it's the PD saying here's what's up, and then making movement on that if needed.
This is Necio in Dallas. I guess it depends on the PD as well, because the PD that was here before was a stickler for that. Like every Wednesday or whatever it was, we would sit down with the whole staff and see, okay, it went up here, it went up here. What's the competition doing at 3 o'clock? I wonder what we're doing at 3 o'clock versus their 3 o'clock. And we would be very nitpicky about that. But now the PD I have now is the exact opposite. Like we haven't heard anything really of the ratings unless it's a drastic up or a drastic down. And I mean, for me as a imaging director, I mean, I do care. Of course, this is what's making our paycheck, but I also need to stay creative, and I'm just gonna whether we're up or down, I'm still gonna do the best I can, So it could create an unnecessary pressure on me, but at the same time, if we know a specific, like the morning show needs help, then I know specifically to make imaging for that, or the night show, I know that makes for that. But week in, week out, to see the ratings every single time, it's mainly up to the PD, for us.
Well, kind of all the above and none of the above, to be unspecifically specific. Me and the PD sit down and talk about the ratings fairly frequently. We get the monthlies emailed out to us. I'm a total nerd. I go through all of the demos, where are we up, where are we down, where the numbers go, and talk about the PD with it. Mostly out of curiosity and focus sake, like Necio was saying, if a time slot or position needs some help, you need to know where to focus that attention. But there's also, like Craig was saying, it is a small sample size. Quite a while back, about 3 years ago, our afternoon show went from a constant third place 2554 to 11th in 1 week, and sat there. We had literally like 2 weeks where our ratings went through the floor, and then climbed back up over another 6-week period, back to where it was and back above. The only thing we could think of is literally, the cycle of the auto industry here. For example, obviously Detroit has a lot of auto workers. They have a period called shutdown here, where all of an entire auto industry shuts down and retools its machines. So the white collar, the blue collar, and the guys with no collar and gals making the cars, on the floor, they all go on vacation. And we've had Detroit PPMs show up during shutdown with tags from a station in Miami or Fort Lauderdale, 0.1, but show up. And that shows you how small the sample size is that literally one family who went to Fort Lauderdale, who left their PPM on, got a 0.1 share or something infinitesimally small, but statistically that's crazy that one family or one person could do that. So we go over it and we overanalyze it and we freak out, or not freak out, but overthink. But little logic in the back of our head also tells us that, this is a small sample size and a small slice of samples of a small sample size. You cannot go crazy on a weekly. A monthly is, after all, only a month. You have to look at the big trends and the small trends and try to steer your ship. You don't want to run into an iceberg and be the Titanic, but you don't want to oversteer, so.
Well, those are all great answers, and I thought, Necio, what you said about the need to stay creative in the midst of paying attention to all of those things you need to respond to and encourage. Gentlemen, I'd be interested in hearing what you do to stay creative. Where do you go to get your most creative ideas for your promos, and how do you get in your creative space?
Whiskey and cigarettes.
Heavy drinking in Orlando.
Bungee jumping.
No. Okay.
No, this is Craig. Honestly, in the car, I have a commute, and I'll either just turn the radio completely off and just drive, or I'll just skip through stations, or I'll skip through iHeartRadio channels and listen to what other stations are doing, and maybe something will pop into my head. But most of it is just sitting in the car in silence and just thinking about, I got to promote this. How am I going to do it? Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night with an idea, write it down.
Yeah.
I don't know where creativity comes from. I'll be completely honest with you. I don't know. Pixie dust. Maybe. I don't know. I really don't have an answer.
Yeah, I don't think there's a wrong way. I mean, sometimes it's surfing the web and looking, falling down the rabbit hole, looking at something stupid. I did a whole series of Christmas promos after watching a couple of Ask a Ninja videos back when those were brand new. That was, for those of you who don't know, an internet fad where this former IT guy dressed up as a ninja and answered questions in the most ludicrous way in web videos. is really popular. What, 5-6 years ago, something like that, maybe longer. And a lot of times, I'll be honest, I have the big commute that Craig does. I'll put on music that I don't traditionally listen to, and I certainly don't image with, and I'll, sing along with something dumb at the top of my lungs. I will pull up Long Tall Texan by, like this morning on the way in, Long Tall Texan by the Beach Boys and Doug Supernaw, and at the top of my lungs singing that on the way to work. Sometimes it's a podcast. Just getting out of the normal state of mind, I guess, for me.
Yeah, same here. This is Necio. I've noticed, because of technology now, it's so easy to listen to other stations across the country. You got all the apps and all the app mother sites. So I'll just, say, okay, what's Phoenix, Arizona? Let's check out this rock station in Phoenix, Arizona, or this hip hop station in Toronto, Canada. Because there's lists of everything. And so on the way to work, I'll listen to something on the way back. And a lot of times it's funny because when I'm leaving work, that's when some of the best ideas comes to me once I'm leaving. And instead of saying, oh, that would have been nice to do, I'll call my phone here, or I'll leave a message on one of my apps, recording, or write it down, and so we don't forget it. And what else was I going to say? Oh yeah, Fuse TV. I'll be checking out, some of the MTV stuff, the Fuse TV, just being engulfed, and plus listeners. Really, people are funny. If you, sometimes you'll see something on Twitter, like if there's a big trending topic and people's comments that they say, sometimes that's the better approach than just saying this happened. You'll see people's reaction to it, or people's, people's smart aleck comments to it. So a lot of times I'll get it from that, and especially just getting out of the studio, because looking at the same four walls and a computer screen doesn't really boost creativity like that. So a lot of times, sometimes I'll go out, and we're, blessed to be in a station where there are personalities, and I'll hear them over talking about some topic, and they'll be cutting up, and they'll say, oh, that'd be good for a promo, just by what they're saying. Normal people saying normal things, joking around, it'll spark something. So kind of a little bit of everything.
I've got one thing to add to what Terry was saying. One thing my early when I first came back to KFI, because I worked at KFI years and years ago. My PD said, if you're stuck, just get in your car and drive around like a listener. Just get in your car and just drive around. And sometimes I don't do it as much as anymore now that I have a commute, but I'll get out and put my put iHeart Radio on my headphones. Just take a walk, and just walk down the street to get lunch or something, and listen to something I wouldn't traditionally listen to, like Terry said. I'll listen to the alternative station, or I'll listen to the public radio station. I'll listen to something that's not that's not news talk, and that sometimes that'll. Well, at least I can pull, if it's good music, I can pull good bumper music or good beds from it if I need to.
Sometimes bad music is helpful too, because it just takes you out of your state of mind. Just trying to justify my Long Tall Texan by the Beach Boys and Doug Supernaw. Yeah, you should listen to it. It's so bad, it circles right around back to good again.
Yeah, but also.
I don't think... Oh, please go ahead.
I'm sorry. Like listening to other stations. What helps me is, also hearing music that I don't normally listen to, but also the way they word the promos. Not to take it word for word, not to plagiarize them, but sometimes the way they say it, or the way the manner in which they did their rejoins or whatever. Sometimes that'll spark an idea. Like, oh, you know what? That'd be cool if I did it my way. But if I flip this way and flip it that way, it becomes a whole new idea. Not to steal exactly word for word, but that's what helps me, is like listening how they word stuff. Like, oh, I didn't think about that, because being in the same station, the same town, sometimes you kind of hear it kind of melting together. You could tell everybody's listening to each other, and they kind of write stuff the same way. So it's kind of good to listen to another city, another format, and it's like, oh, okay, they're kind of writing it different the way they said that.
I don't think we could ask for a better note on which to end. I thank you three so much for your time today and for sharing your expertise with us.